Guys, so here we go. We're going to make the sheath for this. And what I like to do with a knife that is, you know, a new one or one off, is make a new pattern. So what I do with that is take and fold the paper in half. And I use construction paper. I use something a little bit heavier than regular notebook paper, just because I don't know, I like it. You know, you can use whatever you want. Some people actually keep cardboard from cereal boxes and use that, which that's good because it gives you a little more lip to trace out. But what we're going to do is, now that you got your crease line down here from where you folded it in half, you want to line your knife back up to that crease line. I've got probably about 1/4 of an inch there, and this is right on the crease line. And we're just going to take and trace out the blade. And this doesn't have to be exact, because you're going to add to it. You just want to get, you know, the rough shape of what you're looking for. So then I came out here and I made a little mark here. And I like to come up here and about where I think should be the point that is covered by the leather, I'll make, you know, a mark somewhere in that ballpark. That'll leave, you know, a little bit of the handle sticking out to grip it, to pull it out. So then I pull the knife out. So right here's where the guard's at. Let me see if I can get you better. Let me get a darker something. So we traced our line here for the blade. All right, this is where we want to cut it off, and this mark right here is right at the edge of the guard. Now, when you're working with leather, I work with about 7 to 8 ounce leather. Some of it's a little bit thicker, some of it's a little bit thinner, so you want to make sure you give space for that. So our big thing right here is going to be the guard. When you're sticking that in, you don't want the guard hanging up on anything. So you want to come out here and remember about your welt, which is the piece of leather that goes in between the fold. We're just going to make a regular taco sheath if I didn't say that. So we're going to come out here somewhere in this ballpark, and we're going to swoop it. Now you can come in like that. We'll see how that looks. But you want to give yourself some room for the fold and everything else. So we're going to come in here and bring it up there, somewhere in this ballpark, and we'll round it. Now I'm only doing half, and that's for a reason. So somewhere in that ballpark is what we're looking for. So then what I do, take a pair of scissors, and I cut it out. Now sometimes I have been known to do this a couple times because I didn't like the way it looked the first time or anything like that. So that's why we're using paper instead of the actual leather, because it's cheaper. So come in here and just cut. Oops, that's all right. All right, so then what I do is I just refold it back there and I follow the pattern. not really working out the way I want, so just come out because I want to leave. Let me explain why I'm doing this. So I like the fold over belt loops better than the ones that connect onto the back. And this is going to be a straight up and down carry. So I'm going to leave this section on this side so that I can make that belt loop part. We're just going to rough cut it out first. That way, you know, we make sure it's perfectly folded over, because you want, you know, you want it to be symmetrical. There we go. Now one thing I like to do, and this isn't 100%, but I like to lay the knife in there and kind of get a feel for it. You know, I think that's going to be good. It's probably something I'll do with this sheath is do a double welt, just because I want to make sure that it slides in and out really good where that guard's at. And I think a double welt will make it really good. We'll see. We'll put a single one in and we'll see how we go from there. But right here, and that, to me, that looks pretty good. We could probably lob off some of the tip if we wanted to, but I like the way that looks. So now what I do is I come in here and kind of distinguish how I want the belt loop portion to go. So we're going to fold that back over, make a little mark somewhere in this ballpark, and we're just going to come up there and leave it kind of wide. Right like that. Let's see, we'll fold this over. That there should give us enough room to slide a 2-inch wide belt through. And that's what I always factor in, a belt about 2 inches wide. That gives a little bit of wiggle room, because I think normal belts are about 1.5. Right. Now that we're happy with our paper, we need to go get a piece of leather and trace it out with the leather. So I order all my leather from Tandy Leather. I know there's a few other people out there that may have better prices, but what I try and do is wait for a sale to come up and buy a double shoulder. And that's what this is. And I mean, I get some blemishes. You see right there, that wasn't me, that's how it come. And right there, working knives, so I'm not worried about the sheath having, you know, top quality leather and everything. As long as it's a good vegetable tanned leather that's about 7 to 8 ounces thick, then it's good with me. It's going to give a good finish, and it's going to hold up as long as you keep a light coat of wax or leather care on it. I flip it over and I do it from the rough side. But one thing you gotta remember, and I've messed up doing this a couple times, is you want to make sure which side is going to be the inside, so this rough side. So if I take and fold that like it's supposed to be, fold the belt loop over, and I'm making right-handed, and I'm gonna go make sure it's folded over on the right-handed side. So this is going to be the inside. That way when you fold it over, you've got the rough side on the inside. So one thing I found, I don't like to mark on the actual leather with Sharpie. One thing I found is these precise V5 pens are really good for marking it out. They show up on there, but they don't bleed through. You can see we've got that. Now we cut it out. And what I'm going to do is just take this knife first. We're going to come down and roughly cut it out. Now we're at this point here. I'm going to go ahead and use this to mark out my welt. What I do is just take a piece and see how it fits. If I like how it fits on there, then I'll use that. Let's see, this is how it came off. So I'm going to get a decent welt here. Sometimes I'll take and trace it. That right there, I think will give us enough welt. We'll come back in once we get this cut out and lay the blade in there and see how much we have to trim this off. Take some water, and I don't really soak it down because you don't want to soak it down yet, but I just rub it there somewhere in the center. Just to help loosen it up, to make the fold easier. Take and mark it a little bit. Take a straight edge, which this is just a piece of 1095 that I had laying up here. And give you a mark. Leatherworking tools in this little container. It's got a bottom part that I have off of it currently that has all my scraps, pieces that I think are big enough to do something with. I'm terrible at throwing this stuff away. Because it's expensive, so you don't want to just throw it out if it can be used. So what I do is I just run and I'll cut out this center line, and then I'll cut on either side of it. And this tool, I don't know what it is, but it just kind of takes a groove out, and it'll help relieve some of that in the middle. Now it just folds and folds a lot folded a lot easier. So now what I do is get ready to fold over this and pin this in place. Now I'm going to take my knife. I'm just going to cut the corners off on the front side. So this is just my groover tool, and what I did was I went on to Tandy Leather when I first started and bought, they have a starter kit, and it come with a whole bunch of stuff. Come in and just follow the contour of the sheath. Bring it up all the way to the, almost to the top. There, and I've run it a second time. I like a nice deep groove. Alright, now why I don't do it on this back side is because when you punch or drill the holes out, sometimes it gets canted. So if you go ahead and do it on the back side, sometimes your hole will come out to the left or right and just off a little bit. So if you wait until after you have drilled the holes and everything, you can kind of follow the back side, the hole pattern in it. You can hide a lot of your mistakes. One coat of stain on it before I fold over the belt loop. That just allows getting up under here easier. And what I use for stain is this. I use one wood finish dark walnut wood stain. Alright, so we just taken somewhere here at the bottom. Now what we're going to do is take these, make sure we get the right length ones. I always double check. And you only want a little bit of it sticking up like, I don't know if you can see it, sticking up like that. And we'll take and put the little anvil that the kit comes with underneath. And line them up, put the other part on top, and this little punch has a concaved there. Take one good whack, and I like to make sure it's tight. Your belt loop's folded over and made right like that. Clean this up. So what we're ready for now is to come in here and kind of dye the inside of this. I could have done it at the same time, but I like to let this dry a little bit. The inside here has had a little bit of time to dry, so we're going to go and treat the inside of the leather with something that's going to waterproof it and kind of seal it in. And it's my own mixture of beeswax and olive oil. I did some research and found a guy that had, he used a lot more products than this, but his was very similar to this. And sitting here thinking, back when I was younger, teachers would worry about us huffing this stuff. Now, teachers have to worry about kids. Teachers and parents have to worry about kids eating laundry detergent. It blows me away. You know, we used to do some stupid things that killed a bunch of our brain cells, but you know, maybe that's why some of the kids nowadays lack from brain cells from the start. We killed too many of them when we were younger. I don't know. Anyway, enough about that. What you do here is, according to the instructions, you want to wait for it to lose its glossiness and go dull. So we'll give it a few minutes to set here. If I was just for sure putting a single welt in here, I would go ahead and do the other side and fold it all up and clamp it together. But I want to see how the knife kind of feels in it with just one welt. So as soon as this is ready to go, I'll come back to you. Alright guys, so it's pretty much ready to be glued up. So we're just going to take and line it up and stick it down, and it's a pretty quick dry. But I take some of these little clamps, and I got these from Harbor Freight on sale for 99 cents a pack of them, and I can't remember how many come in a pack. And interestingly enough, at Harbor Freight, these little clamps are lifetime guaranteed. If one of them breaks, you can take it back to Harbor Freight and they will replace it with another one. Believe it or not. I think regular price these things are $1.99. And if you don't believe me, Next time you're in there, take a look at the packaging on these things. Up at the top it'll say lifetime warranty in yellow letters. And as anybody that has done anything with their lifetime warranty should know, all you have to do with their stuff is take the tool back in there to them and they give you a brand new one. No fuss or nothing. At least not the ones near me. And I know that for a fact because I used to work for it. But we'll let that set up for about 5 minutes and I'll come back to you and we'll test fit it. Alright guys, well it's nice and set up. And as you can see, them clamps, as long as the leather isn't wet, don't leave a mark. They have enough power to clamp it in place, but not really to mar the material unless it's wet. But one thing I did almost forget to do, and we'll do now, is put in my little mark. And those of you that came over from Exploring Alabama's channel know that it's just the letters to my name, or the name of my business. B. Now you do this wet and it does it better, but we've put our finish, one coat of our finish on, so I ain't gonna wet it. S. Well, can't find the T. There it is. Last time I used these, I must have left them out of place. T. Alright, and as you can see, that's in there. Not as good as what it could have been if I would have done it before. But, you know, sometimes you just forget something. We're going to go around all the way up till there. It fits nicely. Guard still hits on the welt. Hits right there on the welt. I don't really like that. So what we're going to do is double welt it. Just like I was thinking. Alright guys, so we've got this double welt on. And what I did was I cut it a little big and I just kind of lined it up somewhat with the inside of it. What we're going to do here is I think this is about a 1/16 inch bit, and we're just going to take it and drill it. Now, I use this block to kind of help hold it square and work my way down. To me, I like doing this better than trying to punch them. You can do it however you want, but this is how I'm going to do it. Alright guys, now I come over here and I take my stitching groover and line it up with these holes here. Just come down through here and cut it for this side. We're going to go ahead and use red. Alright guys, so I just ran over to the belt sander and kind of trued up the edges a little bit. Don't have to do it a whole lot. One thing you can do to save you some time on the belt grinder is take one of these flat blade razors and just kind of trim it up before you go over there, because if you're not careful you'll get it really burnt even with a fresh belt. So I put some, as you've seen, I put some leather on the bench vise so I can clamp it in here and use this kind of as my stitching pony. I know I should make one, but I just have too many projects going right at the moment. Alright guys, so I think this is called the saddle stitch, if I'm not mistaken. But I start out slightly different. Make sure my even pieces are even. And the first stitch I do, I loop it over top of the outside. Alright guys, well, I didn't realize that my camera battery had died. I was just stitching along. So I'm not quite sure what you got. What I was doing is what I believe is called a saddle stitch, where you go back and forth, and I was explaining why I do this. The first stitch on there, I wrap it. That just gives this portion up here a little more stability when you're pushing it in and out, and it doesn't tear the glue joint. Some people put one of these studs there, but I don't have them long enough for the double welt. But there it is. Alright, I gotta finish dyeing this, and I'm just gonna do it the same way I did everything else and put the edge coat on. So since I'm doing this off my phone, I'm not gonna take you with me doing that. I'll come back and show you the finished product. Got about one step, and as you can see, I've got the edge colored. I got that colored, but we forgot about putting the final finish on. You just want to rub everything down in it. This edge, I put a heavy bit on there. You know, I really cake it on there. I don't worry about working it in yet. Alright, so why I leave it thick on there on the edge is because I take the burnishing tool and use it to work it in. And create enough heat, and it allows it to really soak in there. Here she is. There she is. There's my little mark. Let me grab the knife. Alright guys, well, both my GoPro and my phone died, so I'm having to finish this up on my little laptop camera, and all I'm doing is showing you the fit up. So, as you can see, here's the knife. Knife is in there. There's the knife. It fits in there pretty good. You know, it's still a little stiff, but that's good. So, thank y'all for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you on the next one.